This video is part of a series on spiritual landscaping. And for me, and this may just be for me, the purpose of landscaping isn't to conform to a particular aesthetic. Instead, for me, the purpose of landscaping, it's almost like being a spiritual prayer that connects us to nature and allows us to feel this primal and ancient connection with the earth. And in many ways, in this, age of technology, we're also distant from nature. And so we really desperately need practices that physically connect us to the earth. And I feel that things like landscaping allows us to do that. The other purpose of landscaping, from my perspective, is to allow us to be guardians of the ecosystem, who ensure biodiversity and safety for all of the creatures who are part of our larger family of life. And this point I'll talk more about in future videos. This particular video is on raking. And, for me, raking is an expression of my mindfulness practice. While raking, I try to connect deeply with nature. And I do this by mindfully focusing on all of the different beauty all around me as I'm raking. I also, while trying to rake, try to generate a genuine feeling of spiritual care and devotion for the earth. It's almost like as I'm raking the leaves away, I'm brushing the hair of a loved one. And so I'm developing and expressing care and devotion. And while raking, I also try to experience the process of raking as if it's a prayer that brings peace and a feeling of unity and oneness with earth. And also, I try to synchronize with the cyclical chant of life and death as the seasons are changing. Finally, for me, raking is a great form of exercise. I put weights on the rake and I get a really great sort of pump and burn from it. And it's a great way to incentivize exercise. The first step in my raking journey is putting on an interesting outfit. And the reason why I do this is that I believe outfits have the power to put a person in a different state of mind. And the outfit I have here has shamanistic vibes to it. This top piece over here in black and white was designed and made by Elizabeth, and it's part of my Elizabeth collection. And with the hood, you can really see it brings out those shamanistic feel to it. We also have a loincloth here made in collaboration with Elizabeth. It has a variety of different symbols on it, which I'll describe in a different video. I'm also wearing shorts here that I designed and my mother knit it, and you can see there's a tail on it, and the tail sort of represents the animalistic qualities of the human, for example, connection to the earth. The second step is cleaning and clearing the Ancestor area. And the Ancestor area was created by my mother and is made of these cool, smooth, flat rocks that make a large rectangle on the earth. I think it's important to have sacred areas, both inside and outside our homes, which remind us of the cycles of life and death and the dance of energy. And you can see on one side are special rocks that we have collected throughout our journeys across the world, and they represent our ancestors and our loved ones who have passed away. We began this process of raking by devotionally clearing the Ancestor area, and this also puts us into a meditative and reverent state of mind. We then create a sacred smoke by using my bee smoker, which is what I use to smoke my beehives. And I fill it with sage from my mother's herb garden, along with a variety of different leaves that I find in my yard. Mostly these are maples and oaks and catalpa. In the process, I have a chance to deeply admire these leaves, their feel, and I can say, like a final goodbye to them as winter approaches. In the next step, we walk all around the yard while I spread the sacred smoke, and my mother sings philosophical songs. The idea being that these philosophies help guide our minds into a sacred space.
सुन पत्ते मेरे भाई यही जगत की रीत है एक आवत एक जान.
Okay, Mother, so before we start the raking process, I wanted to listen to a few songs that you had found that have some philosophical meaning that can bring us into the right mental state. So what's the first one you're going to share?
The first one I will share is Kabir's Doha, and that is a conversation between a tree and the falling leaf that I always, every season I remember that. So it goes like this. पत्ता बोला पेड़ से, सुनो वृक्ष महाराज, अब की बिछड़े ना मिले, दूर गिरेंगे जाए। पेड़ बोला पत्ते से, सुन पत्ते मेरे भाई, यही जगत की रीत है, एक आवत एक जाए. The meaning is that the leaf is saying, "Oh great tree, during this fall, I may be dropped far, far away from you. We will never meet again." And then the tree responds, "Oh dear leaf, this is the nature of this universe. One comes and one goes."
So that's really beautiful. And it's sort of recognizing the cycles of life and death, of the encroachment of winter and the inevitable sort of like everything, many things like the insects and stuff like that die only to be renewed later. So that's a really good one. And then you had another one too, right?
Yeah, that's from the Bhaj Govindam. It's a few lines that also I seeing the change, that everything is changing. I remember that one, and then how the nature of our mind is, etc. So that goes like this. Dinyaminyo sayang pratah shishirvasantau punarayatah कालः क्रीडति गच्छति आयुः तदपि न मुञ्चते आशावायुः भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भजो मूढमते. What this means is that I notice how day becomes night, dawn changes to dusk, fall changes to spring. Everything is changing, but the nature of my mind does not change. It continues to fluctuate and chatter non-stop.
That's really interesting. So it's relevant because the seasons are changing and everything around us is changing. And it's kind of interesting because this is also a core part of what we talk about, how at least for us, our minds are sometimes trapped in this web of illusions, and it's sticky, and it sometimes we can't escape, and it keeps looping thoughts over and over again. So you also said that in this shlok, or whatever it is that you're doing, that there's some solutions that they provide. And later on we'll do a more in-detailed video on this. But what are some of the solutions, just as a very quick summary, that they provide so that so a person can sort of, not have looping mind and looping thoughts?
Yeah, they have a very nice, beautiful, several solutions, so that if one thing doesn't work with one person, they can do the other one. But yeah, the list, I tried to write it down. So they say that you work through controlling, being mindful with your breath. You control your senses, they are not distracted non-stop. You do some prayer, you do meditation, you analyze the impermanent nature of the thing, and whatever you're doing, even if you're raking the leaves, be mindful and stay connected with the consciousness within you.
Okay, well, thank you, Mother. So that's gonna leave a really nice, put us in a really nice mental state as we are raking. Great, thank you. As I rake, I try to free my mind and feel oneness with nature that fills me with gratitude. And I do this by focusing on all of my senses. I feel the crisp autumn air through the fading warmth of the sun. I try to focus on my breathing, and I try to synchronize it with every stroke of the rake. I see backlit leaves illuminated by sunshine, bright greens and yellows and dapples of shadows, and edges of leaves with a crispy brownness against a brilliant blue sky. And I rake and I rake and I rake. And then I see an entire tree of shimmering red, and it takes my breath away. And the leaves talk to me as the wind runs through the trees and across my face as I feel unrestrained awe. And I rake and I rake and I rake. And then from high above, leaves fly and float and gently rain down upon me, and I am in ecstasy. And I rake and I rake and I rake. And then upon the ground I find mind-boggling treasures like parachute seeds of the milkweed. Look how they glitter in the sun and the wind. And I love saying hi to all the insects and creatures in my yard.
Come here. Good morning.
I try to generate a rhythm and cadence to my raking. As I rake, I imagine that I'm gently and devotionally brushing away the dead leaves from the earth. I remind myself of the intimacy of raking because it allows me to visit every square inch of my yard. Raking is a great exercise and a great reason to be outside. If you read some of the literature on exercise, there's a discussion on how to incentivize and gamify exercise in the gym to motivate people. But raking is built into our natural reward system. You have a goal, and when you finish it, you feel good. And by adding some weights, you can see that I get great activation of my back and my shoulders, along with my triceps, biceps, and forearms. Because the range of motion is full, it recruits many of my muscles. It's a wonderful exercise, and I get a great burn and pump from it.